Okay, we are on there. So I'm very happy to see you all. The truth is that usually I'm not lecturing from my office, but today I have something later, so I'm here. And I think it's a great opportunity. I'll show you at least one thing that I have here that I like. I'll just share it with you. I'm usually very, okay, I won't say I'm lazy, but I'll share with you and then I'll stop. This is a small, it's not an aquarium, it's a kind of aquarium. If you see whatever is happening in here, it's very alive and there is a plant growing out of it. And it's something that I do not treat it. I never replace the water. I never feed it. There are shrimps, small shrimps that live there. And the idea is that it is a whole ecology system where I do not need to touch anything. The plant that is growing outside is using the nutrients, and everything here is recycled, and everything works, and it lives. And in the Corona period, all the other plants died here, and I had this thing, and I showed you one more thing here. And this, which is a closed ecosystem in a jar. This one, I think, lives already for something like 4 or 5 years. You do not need to touch it, and as you touch it less, it grows better. And it's a closed ecological system. So this is my room and what I do here. Nice to meet you all. What are we going to talk about? So let me share the screen. We started by talking in the beginning, before we started the lecture, on where people sit in lectures. And I think it relates very much to the how active they are. I advise you as much as you can, to be active in this lesson. I think you might learn a lot. And in general, I think this is the best way to study. So I'll share a screen with you. Ooh, sorry, we need to start from the beginning. Okay. Nice to meet you all. Today we're going to talk about effective learning, and I want to ask, first thing, what it is effective learning, what is learning, what is not considered at all to be a learning. Wow, I need to admit people's here. Okay. So I think I want to start with something Samia did in the first lesson. I wonder whether you'll participate with me. Is it okay that you'll close the cameras and we'll try to do the same thing? I'll say things that things about me, and if you share the same ideas, it would be great, the same characteristics. So I'll stop the sharing. I'll tell you 5 things about me. If you share it, then just turn on your camera for a moment. The first thing, I like going to the sea. Who else likes going to the sea? Yay! Mona, Sarah, Julia, Susan. Who else do I see here? Wow! Anthony, nice to see you. Masha, very nice. Okay, shut down the cameras. I think I might be lonely here, but I prefer fruits over ice cream. So Mona is with me, Masha, Carolina. Okay, so I'm not the only one here. Great. I prefer bike over car. I came with my bicycle today. How do you pronounce it? Licky?
Lieke.
Lieke.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Lieke?
Netherlands.
Oh, you have a lot of place to ride bike. Very nice. So here it's very hard to go by bike, but I found a new path all the way to my work without passing streets. And the last thing, okay, you can turn off your cameras. When I was young, I thought that when I'll be an adult, I'll be a zoologist and I'll investigate wild animals. It never happened. Who wanted to be a zoologist or work with animals? Yay! Okay, great. Now you can turn on all the cameras back. Very nice. Share screens, share. Great. So I want to share with you, first thing, what is the motivation for this course? I'll tell you, I have 3 kids, and one day I saw my second kid, something in this position. He was on the sofa with a book on his face, in his hand or something. And I asked him, what is he doing? And he said that he's learning for an exam. And I say, how do you expect to learn anything this way? He didn't really have an answer. And then I understood that students do not learn how to learn effectively. It's not something we learn. And then I really developed this. I read a lot about it. And this is the first time I'm lecturing on it. So I did parts of it to my students along the years, but today it's something new for me. I'll tell you about myself. I myself am a computational biologist. I work on a very wide field. It starts from algorithms to biology. All these are parts of figures from articles I wrote. So there are algorithms that I develop. I work sometimes with physicians, and usually with the work with them looks like this. Elad, I have a lot of data, and they send it to me. Can you find any smart things in this data? I usually do not understand what I'm working on, but I do find new things, and this is part of something that we worked, and they thought that there is a problem with one of the kinds of the treatments. And when I worked with the data, which is pure data, and I did not understand what I'm working on, I found that they treat very well most of the people, but people with dementia, they all had problems after the treatment, and it changed the way they treat these people. They didn't notice it. And this was a work on coronavirus, on computational biology in the field of protein folding. I hope I didn't lose all of you when I said all this. I can talk about computational biology. I work here in HIT, and this is a picture I took last time in Crete, in Chania. And whoever wants to join me, I'll probably be every morning at 6 a.m. in the sea, so I'll be happy to be with you. Okay, we'll start with a short survey. I want to understand, how do you study for exams? What do I mean? Let's see, how do I stop this sharing now? And I'll send you the link, message to everyone. There should be a short survey, and you just need to write, Mark, do you learn this way? How effective do you feel it is from 1 to 5? And if anything is not clear, I'm here. There are 4 people who answered. We'll wait another few minutes. Yes, Aviv.
No, I just said if you can wait another minute, and then you said that already.
No, definitely.
Elad, I'm sorry about
Mona, I do not hear you, but I remember that you are driving now, right? Mona, everything is okay? Okay, who needs another minute?
Me? Me, please.
Oh, I'll be happy to wait. Okay, I want to look together with you at the results and let's see what we can learn from it. Share screen. Okay. Regarding writing summaries, I think most of the people do support this method. Who can say something about it? Does he feel it's something helpful, not helpful, and why? Omer.
Hi. I think it is helpful. I wrote 4, but I think it's not just the writing and the reading. It also maybe to repeat it with groups and to read it out loud for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who thought it is totally a waste of time? Let's say 1 or 2. And I think it doesn't help him. Stanislav, you can just talk.
Yeah.
You don't need to raise your hand.
Okay. So I marked the summaries as a good method of learning.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm usually just too lazy to prepare them, and therefore I'm not using this technique.
Okay, so in the end of the lesson, just let me know if you plan to continue with it, or I might change your opinion. Highlight. Ooh, I think most of the people like to highlight the materials. Who likes the highlighting? I love the colors to buy these highlights, usually. Who likes to highlight and why?
It's not my favorite, but I use it sometimes when there's a lot of material. I know it's ineffective because someone told me that 1 or 2 years ago, but I still do it because it helps me summarize.
It helps you summarize.
Yeah.
Who else want to say anything about it?
I want to say also regarding the first question, like most of my classes are in mathematics, so I feel that it's doesn't help me to highlight or to summarize because most of the things that I'm doing, I'm calculating numbers. So for me, it's like not so effective.
Okay. How many days do you study before test? I see the average is 3.
It depends on.
Wow, just a minute. I put myself on mute here somehow.
I mean, it depends on the how many days they give you before the exam. I mean, I usually study as much as I can.
Just a minute. When he speaks, you hear echo? Yes. So we need to find a way how you would speak from.
No, it's clear. It was clear, Elad.
Okay. Maybe you'll join me later. I prepare a study plan. Who prepares a study plan? Most of the people do not plan. Who does? I want an example of someone who plans his studying. It is very rare. Yarin, when did you start doing it?
Back in high school. I guess.
Really?
Yes, yes. That was my father method, and he taught me that, and it was very, very productive for me to plan when I will study and how much a day, and eventually, it's very good, good thing for me.
Very nice.
I do
Eh,
that too.
yes, Aviv? You do
I
it
said,
as well.
yeah, it's more manageable like that, and it's much less scary because if you have a lot of material, it helps to divide it. It seems less scary like that.
Very nice. Flashcards, learning cards. Who most of the people do not create it. It is a method very useful in medicine studying. Who is creating? We have three who do create it.
Yeah, I was making flashcards when I was younger, and then I would stick them to my bed wall, and then I would read them the last thing before I went to sleep and the first thing when I woke up.
Very nice. So how young were you when you did it?
I think up till 15 years old or
Ah,
something.
okay. It's not just a kid. Very nice.
No.
Very nice. I think it's the last one. I practice past exams. Most of the people do practice past exams, and it's very, very nice and good. Great. We'll repeat this survey, if I remember, in the end of the lesson, and we'll see if there are any changes. Just a minute. Share. Where is the Zoom here? Okay. What is our plan for today? So this is the plan of the lesson. You can see here on the side, what do I plan to start with the motivation, some experiments. We'll talk about non-effective methods for studying, about effective methods. And the last thing, and I think it's the most important thing, is that I want to say that learning is like growing a plant, and we'll see why, and we'll see the experiments and the effectiveness of learning slowly. So the first thing I want to talk is about the motivation. I told you this was the motivation when I saw my kid learning something very familiar to this method. I think he thinks that in a way of diffusion, the knowledge will pass from the book to his brain, which will never happen. And I want to say that the first thing when we want to learn is the planning. The first thing we need to do is plan. And I think if you go to a trip without planning, you'll see the results. The first thing that we need to know when we go to a trip is, when is the trip? When does it take place? What is the schedule? How long would it be? Is it a hike? Is it a road trip? It depends. We need to plan and be prepared based on these ideas. We need to organize and pack the required things that we need to take with us. And the same is with exams. We need to first know when is the exam. We need to put it in the calendar. We need to put and schedule days to learn before, otherwise we won't have this time. This is what is the learning schedule. What kind of exam is it? What are the kind of questions that we might see there? We need to pack and organize all the materials before. We need to pack and see that we have, I don't know, calculators, the permitted materials, and not be surprised during the exam. So as you prepare better to the exam, you'll come much more prepared. This is correct for travel and trip, and of course to exam. Does anyone have any example that he came to exam unprepared with something major thing missing? None of you, really?
No, there has definitely been some times where I just took a it is what it is approach, and yeah, it happens. It happened quite a few times in my studying career.
Yeah. Did anyone could have bring with him equation papers and he forgot to take it with him or forgot a calculator? Leo, do you want to join me here? I see you. Leo just cannot stop. Okay, you can join my here.
I came to the final test in Tanakh in high school without a Bible. So
Very good. Very good.
yeah, it was very responsible of me.
Okay. Leo, when you want to speak, I'll just turn the camera for you.
That's good.
Very good. Okay. Intentional versus incidental learning. Okay. I want you to read these sentences. Who can read it for me? Loud.
I can if you want to.
Yeah, Yarin.
Okay. The fat man went to the bus stop. The stupid man was watching TV. The stubborn man was wearing a sweater. The brave man peeled an apple. The teacher woke up early.
Very good. So now, what do I want you to do? I want you to have a short quiz. You don't need to succeed in it. It's just to see how much out of it we can remember. So just try to answer, what do you remember from what we read? When you'll finish, you'll get a grade of how correct it was. Don't worry about it. What did you do, a print screen? How do you succeed in answering it? Omri, it's impossible. We need to talk about it.
I got just one, so
There are 20 people who answered. I'm waiting to see some more. In the meantime, I can share with you the results. Even though it's in Hebrew, you can understand that this is the distribution of grades. Of course, mathematically, no one can receive 80 because you cannot do just one mistake. Okay, so what do we see here? We see here the distribution of grades, and we see that in average, this is the average grade is 60. So by reading these really meaningless sentences, we remembered something like 3 out of 5 sentences. Share again. Usually I work with two screens, so it's a little harder for me. Okay, so by just reading, we see that there is something like a rate of 60% succeed if we do the exam 2 minutes later. If I'll do this exam and I'll ask you a day later, what do you think the results will be?
0.
What do you say?
0.
0. I believe that if I'll ask you tomorrow, it would be probably around 0. Now I want to show you it's part of an experiment that was carried out. Now I want to add that we will ask one question. We don't need to ask a lot, just ask one question. Let's take another set of sentences. Don't do a print screen, please. And let's ask just the question, why did? For example, why did the tall man stood in line? Meaning that the sentence was the tall man stood in line. And I'm asking why. Can anyone just imagine an answer for it? Whatever you think, just imagine something.
It was too tall.
Because he wanted to get a coffee.
He wanted to get
Again, because he wanted to get a coffee.
a coffee. Very good. The tall man stood in line in order to get a coffee. Now do it by yourself. For each one of the sentences, imagine an answer. For 1 minute, I'll leave it here, no more. We don't need more than that. Even I think that even is it okay now? Can I stop it? You had some no. Susan, you don't need to write, just imagine an answer in your head. Okay. Now we'll do the same thing that we did before. And let's see how much out of it we remember. מה קרה? זה בטח ממקודם.
או איזה 5 שלי או של הבלי.
We'll wait until there would be 25 responses. Are there 3 more that I can wait for them? Okay. What do we see now regarding the distribution of the grades? The average is 86, which is much higher. What do we see?
The majority got the most answers right.
Okay, so there are much more correct answers. What did you feel while you answered this survey now? Regarding the questions, how was the process?
That there is a logic behind the
That there
question.
might be a kind of a logic.
It made the memorization more interactive. So I'm physically trying to memorize the stuff instead of just reading them.
So we did something that helped us remember a little better the result. Where do you find this effective? In which kind of tests did you find it effective? Do you use it somewhere? In general?
In literature, like more humane subjects.
Okay. The experiment that was carried out and the reference, I think I put it in the Moodle, they did it in 3 stages. The first one was, as I gave you, just to read the text. And they did it with, not like we did it with 5 sentences, but with 24 sentences. And they remember 15%. Then they gave them the list and told them to do whatever they can to memorize. And they read it again and again and again. And each one used whatever method he has in order to memorize. And they received 58% of success. And when they asked them just to answer nearby any sentence, the answer why did the tall man, why did the, and so on, the rate of success was 77%. Now I have another question for someone who did not talk until now. If I'll ask you tomorrow, what did the tall man do? Do you think you remember?
Maybe.
Maybe.
There is much more. There is much more chance
That you will
for me.
remember.
Yeah.
I'll ask you when we'll meet back in Crete, whether the tall man was sitting in line or peeling an apple.
I think you would probably not remember that because it's not a crucial or important information.
You know, there is, in the last slide I have in this presentation, there is an experiment that they did a week after they taught something, and then they returned on the same quiz a year later, and there were some results, meaning that everything that we study here and we see here was found usually better in a very nearby exam, but always, if you want to see whether you remember it or not a year later, all these methods are much more effective for long-term remembering. So maybe not the tall man, but other things, yes. Yeah, I think it's not so important what happened with the tall man. What are your conclusions from this small experiment? What are your conclusions? Do you think you can do something with it in order to succeed more in your studies? I know for sure that for me, the question why things happened is very helpful. Now we need to be very careful with it, that we won't believe always that these are the results, but at least in science, we need to try and understand the reason. Usually it helps understand all the material much better. And whenever you understand it, you don't need to remember any equations. This I can tell you for sure, at least in science. Non-effective. Let's see some non-effective methods. Highlighting and summary. These are 2 of the most non-effective methods in studying. Let's look at it. So the first experiment I want to show you was carried out on 180 high school students. They received a 4-pager. It was 2,000 word text to read. I think it was on an imaginary tribe in Africa or something like this, and they were examined whether they remember some details or not regarding this text. What did they have? They divided the group of the 180 students to 4 groups. The first one was the reading group, meaning they let them read it, and then they examined how much out of it they remember. The second group was they read it, and they asked them, while you read, highlight or moreover copy the critical lines on another page. You can see, mark the critical sentences in these pages and write it in a separate page. So this is the second method. These are methods which are familiar to all of you, I assume, right? The third one was that near each paragraph, they should write the main idea. This is the way I read articles. I read it paragraph by paragraph, and I write myself in a sentence what was the main idea in the paragraph. So that was the third method. And the fourth one was they were not allowed to write anything until they finish the whole page. And after they finish the page, they cannot look at it. They just need to write what they remember out of what they read. What do you think would be the results? Okay, you need to think. I believe that everyone in this room was trying at least one of these methods. What do you think were the results? So we see that the reading group succeeded in 40%, which I don't know if it's good or not, but they remember 40% of the detail. Copy and highlighting, did it improve or not, the results?
Yes.
Yes, Julia.
Yes, I think.
I would
Okay.
assume not. I don't assume it improved anything.
Okay. Something from your own experience, do you have? Okay. If you copy critical lines or highlight, it's either the same or even a little worse. But I think, you know, statistically, we cannot say it got worse. It is mostly the same. Writing the main ideas improved dramatically the results. And if you summarize after each page, it improves a little more the results. Why do you think that writing a summary after each page and not after each paragraph improves the results? I think this is the main issue of studying, and it will repeat over and over along this lecture. What happens to our brain when we try to summarize a whole page and not a paragraph?
We need to rethink everything that we just read and put it in our own words. We have to mold it into something new.
So we need to rethink, Lior says.
Because maybe after one page, we are summarizing better than one paragraph.
Okay. I think that my summary of a paragraph, I know exactly what happened there.
Yes, but you are not like, when it's one page, so you are trying to summarize one page. When it's one paragraph, it can be the same like length of paragraph of summarizing. I don't know how to explain it, but I think like when I summarize paragraph, I can summarize as I summarize one page.
Okay, it's different. Something different happens there. Does anyone have any idea what is the process?
I guess.
Yes.
Yes, just a minute. There is Yarin and
Yes.
Uri. So let's start with Yarin.
Yes, I think that while I read the whole page, I analyze the data that I just read, and I can see the bigger picture and not
Okay.
just the smaller paragraph that may not include the all the data that I need to summarize this specific subject.
Okay, Omri.
It's almost more or less the same, but I can add on to the context of what are you reading exactly. So if you are reading, for example, an abstract or maybe a conclusion of a publication, then it will be, of course, difficult to summarize such a thing. But if you read a method or if you read a result analysis, then you will have a comprehensive overview, which allow you to really rethink, and there is a room for summarizing. So I guess, yeah, the comprehensive overview will be better.
Omri, you're saying something very important that we need to emphasize. You know, in science, what usually we do when I work with biologists, they do a small experiment in a tube or on mice, and then they conclude about the humanity. So, you know, there is a little gap. So here we did a small experiment on students in high school, but we do try to conclude something general. Of course, each material and each person is different, and not everything I'll say here is correct for any material, any subject, and any age. But there are some ideas that we can learn from it. And I think this is the idea of doing science in general. The word I want you to write to yourself, and we'll go back to it again and again, is recall. Recall, I think is the strongest process of learning, and we will come back to it later. Now, I want to show you a week later, they gave them the same exam, and let's see what happened a week later. So of course they got lower degrees in general, but we see that the active learning, writing main ideas and summary after each page, in general are higher than a copy, critical lines, and reading. So even a week later, these methods are much more efficient. Questions? No. Conclusions, we talked about it. I think we should pass to the some effective methods. Okay, let's start. Test enhanced learning. Okay, so this is a paper published in 2006, and it is mostly dealing with the idea of testing yourself and not learning. And let's see what happens here. So there were two groups. Okay, so you know what? I'm a little worried because the number of cameras just reduced with time. Can you just wake up the cameras so I'll see the people around me? It makes me much more energized. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Omri. Thank you, Bassa. Wow, thank you. Thank you all. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the experiment was carried in the following way. They gave a group of students, if I remember, a material to study, and they gave them 4 times to read the material and studied it in whatever manner they want. They gave them the page with the materials, and they asked them to study it, everyone in his own way. They can mark it, they can summarize it, they can do whatever they want. They had it 4 days in a row. Each time they received exactly 7 minutes to study. And a week later, they were examined. So this was the first group. The second group had the opportunity to study just one time. So the first time they studied, the day later, they gave them a paper and told them, write whatever you remember out of what you studied yesterday. And in this way, they did it day after day, meaning how many times they had the opportunity to learn. To read the materials.
Just once.
Just one time, exactly. And this group had 4 times. So the first question is, who do you think believed, had a better feeling regarding the final exam? Who came with a better feeling to the exam? Who thought he knows better the material?
The first group, maybe?
The what?
The first group?
The first group. Okay. Any other ideas? Why do you think the first group, Mona?
Because they had too many chances to just reread it. So while the other group just once. So
yeah,
that's it.
They had a good feeling. They read it 4 times.
Yeah.
You're right. Who else has any idea? Denicia? This is the name? I pronounce it correctly?
It's Danica.
Yes, sorry. Danica. What do you think? Your microphone doesn't work. We do not hear you. Do you want to try again? Is it just me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I also think that the first group thought they did better because they had more time.
Very good. Do you think that students that feel better with the exam succeed more or less in general?
In general, I think the students that are, I don't know how to say this, but the people that study more know that sometimes they remember things they didn't learn fully, but they know it. I don't know how to explain this. And the people that think they are 100% correct, they don't remember those things. And I mean, that is just my opinion. I don't know if it's facts or something.
I agree with you. There is a dangerous in overestimating your abilities. In a lot of fields, you see it. Okay, so the first thing, you are right, both of you. The first group, the learner group, the one who had the opportunity to learn 4 times, did believe that they will succeed more in the exam. What were the results? Who did succeed more?
Well, I think the other group did better, but I don't know.
So you believe that the recall group did better, and of course, this is because this is the way that I teach the lecture, and this is what is suspected to be the truth. But if you had the opportunity to learn the materials and read it 4 times or read it just 1 time, usually what would you prefer?
Well, I don't know. I'm just a little bit, I like to procrastinate. So when you have just 1 day to study something, then you have to study it. And if you have 4 days, you will just postpone it tomorrow, and then you will also have the same time to study.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Okay. And so the results were as follow. There was a advantage of 50% more for the recall group. They succeeded in 61% regarding the 40% of the learner group. So they both had the same time to learn. And we see that the recall group, which is what Lior here said, rethinking, he called it in the beginning. This is the most effective way of learning, and it is proved again and again. Questions? No. Conclusions we talked about. We talked about test enhanced learning. And when I talked with my students before they start learning to exam, I just advise them to read 1 time the notebook. Don't put too much effort on it. Pass it as fast as you can and jump in order to practice tests. And we see that it is not just tests. Even if you just write yourself what you remember, it can help you. Now I want to go to practice methods. And these are the methods that were proven to be the most efficient ones. Flashcards, And I want to show also a WhatsApp card, which is something that some of my students invented, or at least I saw it for the first time. Who knows what are flashcards? And how is it used? So Like used it until the age of 15 in some manner. Who else?
Well, I used it as post-its.
Yeah, I know. You used it in a very naive way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is something very that is. This is the reason I ask you about the age, because usually it's something which is very in young ages, but it's very nice and naive. You know, it's amazing. This is probably the most efficient method to learn, and nobody uses it. How can it happen? Really, I'm asking a real question. It goes back to my son on the sofa with the book on his face, trying to learn. Okay, can you open for 5 minutes the web? Try to search what are flashcards and how they are used. I'm waiting. In 5 minutes, we'll talk on it. I want to hear what you found.
Are they like little note cards?
Now we are waiting 5 minutes. Everyone can
Okay.
go and search the web. I'll put a timer. So the question is flashcards. How do you use them? If you have time, look for applications. There are lots, at least 3 good applications for flashcards.
What do you mean application for flashcards?
Usually now we don't work with paper, so there are applications for the phone.
Okay.
Quizlet is a good application.
3.5 minutes, Rotem.
Sorry.
Okay, we are back. 5 minutes. What did we learn in this time? What did you find? What is flashcards?
Flashcards, it's kind of a notes or either post-it or digital or something like that. It's a card you write a piece of information on. It can be a definition, a sentence, a function, something like that. And then you mix all the cards together and go one by one. You can give them to someone to quiz you. You can read them by yourself, quiz yourself, or something like that. A lot of med students study like that. Med and law students like postcards, flashcards, whatever.
Great. Who else found some other, some more features regarding it? No one? Sultan, Masha, Carolina.
Yeah, I used I used them when I was learning the language. So I learned in my past different languages. And in terms of remembering the words, I have to translate them into my mother language. Then I wrote from 3 to 5 words in each poster. Then I stick it everywhere in the room. And when I wake up, I have to read some. When I sleep, I read some. But when someone come to my house and then we have a discussion, I can take some posters and give him or give her to like discuss or maybe test me what type of word, what is the meaning, and that's how it works until now, by the way.
Amazing, amazing. I think that language is the hardest thing to learn, and when you learn hard things, you should go to the best methods. What are the best applications that you found that can be used for flashcards?
I'm a classical guy, so I like writing all the time. So
Okay,
I like everything handwritten.
yeah, there is something special in handwriting. I agree with you. Which kind of applications you found were the best?
I don't know.
Quizlet.
So a lot of people here know Quizlet. There is, I think the best application is called Anki. And one of the good things in Anki is when you are wrong, they give you every time, let's say that you are in the bus or in the train, you can go over your cards. And whenever you do a mistake, it raises this specific card in a higher frequency, while the ones that you know better in lower frequency. So it trains you better on and more times on the things you are weaker on. So these are the best ways and methods to study. And if you look in the internet, you'll find that who did you find that is studying with flashcards? At least most of the examples in the internet are for which degree? Medical. It's amazing. You can buy it. There is a whole market for medical studies. Each university have their own cards. Students sell their cards. It's a real whole field there. Great. And I want to show you something that I really liked. One of my students, what he did, just a minute, I'm sharing, I think, okay. What he did, he opened a group with himself and he summarized every one of the method that we learned during our studies. He wrote what it is and recorded it. And then he said, whenever I'm in the bus or something, I just can listen. I ask myself, what is it? How do I do the Gaussian elimination? And if he doesn't remember, he has a record of 50 seconds that he explained himself. I think it's a great method. You can open it for yourself in each field. And I think it's a great thing. Wow, okay. Someone that is better than me in English and is willing to read something for us? Who of the students is willing to help me now? American one. Okay,
Well,
Susan.
I'm not a student, but
I see.
I see the slide with the 3 effective methods.
So are you willing to help me now?
Of course.
Okay, so this is the next. This is a part of an experiment. Susan will read it to us and see whatever you can remember out of it.
Okay. Meaningful learning, contextual prerequisites for understanding. The procedure is actually quite simple. First, you arrange things into different groups. Of course, one pile may be sufficient depending on how much there is to do. If you have to go somewhere else due to lack of facilities, that is the next step. Otherwise, you are pretty well set. It is important not to overdo any particular endeavor. That is, it is better to do too few things at once than too many. In the short run, this may not seem important, but complications from doing too many can easily arise. A mistake can be expensive as well. At first, the whole procedure will seem complicated. Soon, however, it will become just another facet of life. It is difficult to foresee any end to the necessity for this task in the immediate future, but then one never can tell. After the procedure is completed, one arranges the materials into different groups again. Then they can be put into their appropriate places. Eventually, they will be used once more and the whole cycle will have to be repeated. However, that is part of life.
Great, Susan. Can you repeat it without reading the whole procedure?
I'm sorry?
Now comes the question. Who can help me arrange the order of these sentences? Which sentence is first? Which one is next? I didn't put all of them, but there is an order here. We read a process, right? And the question is, what do we remember out of this procedure? What do you think? Do you want 5 minutes to write to yourself the numbers, the sequence of numbers? I think it would be good. Take 5 minutes and see what you remember out of what Susan, thank you, read to us. And afterwards, I want to hear some more participants. We have 2 minutes for it. We have 1 more minute. Okay. I want to hear some new students that I didn't hear yet. First thing, how is the feeling to do this task? What do you feel while you are doing it? Susan, you saw, I learned to ask questions about feeling. And what did you find out? I'll just let you know that while we were in Crete, Susan taught me something that I never thought about it, is to ask my students in the beginning of the year, how do they feel about math? So was something new for me. Okay, so I want to hear some new students. And what do you think about this task, about this mission? How was it?
I think it was a little bit confusing.
It was confusing. Okay. So
A
just,
little bit, yes.
let's talk just about feelings. Confusing. What else? I'm passing to the other page of the Zoom. Anil, Elisa, Martin, Ivana, Isabella. What do you think? Okay. I think this is confusing. It is frustrating, and I think a lot of times we might feel this way while we are learning to exams. Now I want you to read it again, just by yourself, while I'm adding a picture. Ah, no, first thing I just showed the sequence. This was the sequence. It doesn't really matter. If you want, this was the sequence: 6, 3, 2, 5, 4, 1. Who succeeded? Susan?
I switched around.
I did.
Mhm.
I did.
Mona, how did you succeed doing it?
I did. There. I wrote it
How?
down.
It is
Yeah,
so
I did it.
confusing. How did you remember anything?
I don't know, just the sentences made sense, one at a time.
Okay. So
I
making
know.
sense is something that helps us understand.
Yeah.
Now I want you.
Yeah, sure.
Now I want a picture that will make sense of everything. Now read it by yourself again, quietly. Does it make sense? Yes. So this is a text that explains how you do your laundry. That's all. And when it's out of context and you have nothing to hold on and you have no experience and there is nothing meaningful in the text, you can never remember it. We need to have something meaningful. We need to connect what we study to our life and to do these connections. Otherwise, we just are not able to remember anything out of it. So this was part of an experiment they did there. I think something like 4 different texts. This was the one I liked the most. So we saw 3 main methods of effective learning. So meaningful makes it, you need to make it much more meaningful to yourself. There are several ways to do it, either connect it to your own life or even ask questions like we did in the beginning. And what I want you to do now you need to be prepared to work in Zoom rooms, in the rooms. There is a shared doc. Oh, sorry. You know what? Okay, and then I'll show you another experiment, which I think is amazing. There is a link here. I'll divide you into rooms. And I want each one of you, let's see just a minute, how does this, I'll show you just how this thing looks like. I'll divide you into rooms. In each room, I want you, the group number is the room number. Write your names in the first page. And then you have 4 slides. The first 2, I want you to make, as you remember, flashcards regarding this specific lesson. You can find a link to the presentation if you don't remember everything, or at least part of the presentation. There is a link here that you can open. So I want you to make 2 flashcards, which are multiple choice questions. 2 cards, which you can do anything you want, like Aviv said, definition, picture, whatever you want there. And a 5th one you can choose. Is the task clear? Yes. So how much time do you think we need for it? I think 20 minutes at least, right? Samia, how much do you think? 20, 25, 20, right? Enough.
Yes.
20 minutes will be enough. In order to succeed, I really ask you all, at least in the rooms, open your camera and participate and talk to each other. Otherwise, it will be harder. So I'm sending you, first thing, the link, and then I'll divide you to rooms. Where is the chat now? Stop share. Here it is. Just open and tell me that everything opens there well. It opens? Basar, Sultan Basar?
Yeah, yeah,
And you can write on it?
I'm trying. Yes.
Okay, let's, I think that 4 or 5, no, something like 5 people in a room would be okay, or less. What do you think, Sultan?
How many people are we here?
How many people in a room do you think there should be? 4 or 5 or 5? Okay, so we'll go on 5. And options, I'll put it for 20 minutes. The lecturers, it will just put you in the room, then come back here. And open our rooms. Good luck, waiting to hear from you. How nice to see you all back. How was the task? Martin, you disappeared. Three, two, one. Boom, everyone should arrive. How are you? Martin.
Hey, nice. It was funny to
Nice to see you.
try to find the questions.
Okay. We started, we got less students back than we started. Okay. I have a question. Maybe I did not explain exactly what I want. I thought it is clear that the flashcards should be regarding the lesson. Maybe I didn't say it. Is it possible? Was I unclear in this?
No, I think it was clear.
Okay.
Well, we thought about it, but we thought eventually, like we might use sort of question. I know.
And it was also on the slides that it was about the lesson, so that is what we read.
Okay, because I see here some questions. What are the colors? Name colors of Polish flag and explain the colors.
Yeah, we didn't understand. We thought it's just about any topic that we chose. So our fault. But we did write some good question and did a good research. So I want point on that.
So you get some points on learning the Polish flag. Very nice.
And the meaning of the colors.
In the Polish flag. So what are
And
the
I
meaning of
learned
the Polish
just
flag?
how you taught us right now.
Okay, so just a minute before I pass back to your Polish flag. Until when is our lesson? I'm not sure if it's 6 or 6:15 or whatever is.
I think it's
6.
Ah,
6. So I have 7 minutes. I want to be very use my time the best I can. I'm sharing you with you the slide. I want to show you one more experiment. I'll do it very, very fast, and then I'll talk about what we should do at home. So I want to show you one last experiment. The experiment was done as follow. Students were given 50 words in Spanish, and they learned it in 2 methods. The first one is they had 6 lessons in the same day, one after one, and a month later they were tested on these words. The second group was studying the same exact 6 lessons, but were separated in 1 month between a lesson to a lesson, meaning these one were learned at 1 day, like you learn to the exams 3 days in advance, everything in 1 time, and these ones took the same time to learn, but spread it on 6 months. And then a month later, were examined on these words, asking how much of these words they remember. I want to ask you, what do you think are the results? I'll just show you it. Oh, where are the results? Didn't I show them here? Ah, okay, the results are here. Here, they remember 65% of the words, and here they remembered 95%, meaning that as you space the learning, you learn much better. And it goes back to the recall and the idea that learning is something very biological, that you need the neurons to connect to each other and they need time to do so. Like growing a plant. This is the main message of this lesson. If you want to learn, it's like growing a plant. You cannot put all the water in 1 day and hope it will grow. You need time and you need to do it slowly. I want to summarize. I won't do the last survey. We saw that planning the learning is something important. We saw how active learning improves our understanding and remembering. We saw methods of learning that reading or markering is something which is less valued than summarizing and recalling the materials. We saw that it is better to test yourself again and again and recall the materials than to read it. And we saw that we need to understand what we read and study, otherwise we will never remember it. And that learning is like a plant. You need to grow it slowly. What do I want you to do? Let me share just a minute the Moodle here with you. And it is important to me. Where is the share screen here? I did share the screen until now, right? Okay. Stop share. Share this thing. Okay, so first thing, I really ask all of you, and it's part of the lesson. The idea in this exercise is to improve your remembering of this lesson, to learn better this lesson. So I want you to ask questions regarding these lessons. So if you did such a very nice question, you can leave there, but please make sure that you have 5 flashcards on this lesson. This is part of the learning and part of the practicing, hoping that you'll later on use it in your own lessons. So this is one thing. The second thing, what do we have in the Moodle? We have here the link to the flashcards, and I want whoever didn't finish it to finish it. There is a link to the presentation, I'll update it. There are some of the references. I'm not sure which one is there necessary. If there are some references that you do not find there and you want me to find it, just let me know and I'll add it. And I think we have 2 minutes for questions. Questions, friends. I would assume that everything is clear, but after I saw that you are asking questions which are not relevant, please, questions. Thank you all.
Professor,
Yes, Isabella.
I have a question, but it's not regarding the subject of the
Yes.
class. It's just I can't access Moodle. So how am I going to send you
I think
the
you should
homework?
write I think you should write the lecturer which you are studying with. Who is the lecturer in your group, in your team? Or you're working directly with Costas?
Yes, but I sent him an email, but I didn't receive a reply.
No, I'm asking, for example, I have some students here, so if they have any problem, they talk to me and I talk to Costas. So either talk to Costas, he's the man. He's the only one who can enable you.
Okay.
He's the and usually he answers very fast, so
There should be some type of an email at some point. It was that we were all sent in the beginning, explaining, giving the link, and then what our username and password would be.
Yeah, I never received that. And I sent an email requesting it, but yeah, it's been a while and still.
I would send him an email. He usually answers very fast, really very fast. That's the best I can do, Isabella.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you all very much. Have a nice day. See you next week with just a minute with the lesson of Susan, right?
Yes, I'll see you all on Monday. We had to cancel my lesson 10 days ago or so because I was ill, and I will instead have the lesson with you on Monday at it'll be on Monday.
Oh, Monday is like the Memorial Day for Israelis.
Really?
Right?
It's on Monday?
Mm.
That's what I was sent by
Just a minute. I saw in the you know what, let's not mess with everyone. We will receive a very ordered email from Costas.
But
And
okay, he sent it the other day, and I thought he sent it to the students as well, but I could be wrong. It was for Monday at 3 p.m. Central European time.
Here is
But you know, he might not have known that it was Memorial Day for you, and
Yes, we don't have school on Monday.
just a minute, Susan, it is written that your lecture is on the 13th, so we'll wait and hear it.
On the 13th. Yes, that's Monday.
Ah,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
So is that your Memorial Day?
Yes, but we'll be in contact with Costas. I don't
Okay,
think the
because
students
I mean,
will-
I can also do it on Tuesday.
Okay, so
Tuesday is actually our Independence Day. So
we will be updated.
We're not working on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay. Uh-huh. All right. Then I don't know what to tell you. Meaning my if 3 p.m. needs to be the time because that's what it always is, then I have to change things. If we could do it a bit later, then I can do it on Wednesday.
Okay, I think we should talk to Costas and he'll send an email to everyone.
Okay. Well, before we go to Crete, I will see you all. All right.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking
Have a nice
forward.
day.
Thank you.